bring our Doc Talk Tuesday special guest, Dr. Jesse Morse. Jesse Morse, we in studio. We appreciate you dropping in here, man. What's going on? Give us a rundown real quick before you go inject Aaron Rodgers on what we got going on in the injury world in the NFL.
Can you not wait any longer to tell me Christian McCaffrey's not playing?
Hey, so what's going on with that? Let's break that down. You know the rules, and you know that Houston, we got a problem because Mason did not clearly know. Hey, Dr. Jesse Morse, off topic. This is why I'm so hard on Smitty about player empowerment. We want the bag. We want. We want to be the control CEO of ourselves and blah, blah, blah. But you don't even know not to blab your big mouth and put your head coach at risk by allowing him to – because we know in the league.
He's a backup, though,
hey,
JB.
Jesse, we know, though, in the league, in those quarters, those fine quarters in the locker room that we're told. We knew McCaffrey wasn't going to play. Not we, but the players. So he knew he was going to get the start because they were already prepped him in the offensive scheme of things.
The kid just had the game of his life. And
you don't think he knew? You don't think he knew he was going to get the rock? Come on, man. So
all I know is that I feel bad for Mason.
Me too.
He had the game of his life. He answered honestly, and he got chastised for it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He probably made about a quarter what McCaffrey made, and McCaffrey didn't play.
No doubt. So what's going to happen with that? You think? Because he came out and denied it. He came out and denied it, and the kid said it again. Like, what's going on?
I mean, so we knew McCaffrey had the calf strain early in camp. Right, that was the third time he had it. We don't know if it's the same side, but it's probably the same side over the past year and a half or so. Then about 7 days ago, we heard, they had to be more specific, and now he's also dealing with an Achilles. Okay, that's two different injuries. Those are two sick. Calves are annoying enough, but Achilles is a different monster. Okay, either you have Achilles tendonitis, which is just inflammation, painful, or you can have chronic inflammation that can lead to a tear. Remember, we've had Aaron Rodgers, who had the calf strain, ended up leading to an Achilles tear. We've had Kevin Durant, calf strain, Achilles tear. Okay, so very high-level athletes both suffered pretty significant injuries. There's not really good data to support that transition, but you could justify it because it is technically the same tissue. Now, he owes, they pay him a lot of money. He's very important to that team. McCaffrey is, but nonetheless, you have to be smart with him. They obviously knew on Friday he wasn't going to play on Monday, but we didn't hear a peep, nothing. And if the game was in New York, okay, maybe that would have been a little bit different, but it wasn't in New York, so he didn't have to go anywhere. He didn't have to get on a flight. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I have a feeling that the 49ers are going to get penalized here because either the kid messed up or the team messed up or both. Either way, and then furthermore, if he couldn't suit up on Friday, knowing on Friday, what makes you think he's going to be able to suit up next Sunday?
So they got Minnesota, I think. I don't know, Doc. I mean, go back a little bit just to give some clarification. He's been a riddled injury bug, right? Pretty much his career. I know he's had great, unbelievable years.
So he started off hot. He started off his college was unbelievable. He didn't have any injuries. He started off hot in the NFL. Then he had his 400-plus touch season in 2019, and he fell apart in 2020. And then 2021, he tried to come back, fell apart again. He played half of 22 with the Panthers, did well, and then he had to spend the other half with the 49ers. Last year, they used him, pretty much in every situation. He ended up leading the league in touches again, but over 100 less touches than 2019. So we're seeing a significant shift from 20 years ago to now, where 20 years ago they used to have 450 touches. Last year, McCaffrey led the league with 334 touches. That's not that much anymore if you compare it. But you have all these split backfields. Everybody's throwing the ball. So, it'll be interesting to see if anybody hits 350 touches this year. I just don't know if it's going to happen. And that's with another game, mind you.
Right.
No
so,
doubt.
but
they don't play preseason though. So, I mean, they gain a little bit there, but I hear you. It's longer regular season, and hopefully they are pretty much accustomed to making a long, deep run. So, Let me ask you a question after Aaron Rodgers deal. He recovered. He came back. Everybody. It's crazy that media will sit there and count the plays, and I'm like knocking on the wood. Like, why would you mention?
Right.
They were on the telecast. Like, all right, this is play 4. This is where he made it to last year, and I'm like, why the fuck would you say that? Like, it's crazy. But let me ask you something. A bunch of buddies of mine hit me up last night, and then they started talking about it on the show on the game. Did you notice any disparity with his left calf? As far as size-wise, is that atrophy kicking in?
Oh, he'll definitely have atrophy. That's inevitable. It's very, very difficult to be post-Achilles and not have that side be smaller. Like,
is that a risk? Is that a risk at all?
no, it's just how it is. It just doesn't get stimulated for about 4 or 5 months, and you just can't get it back unless you had tiny calves to begin with, and then maybe you don't really appreciate it. But if you had like larger calves or medium size, then it's very difficult to get that back.
Did he look,
it's okay. It's not a big deal.
He looked normal to you?
Well, I'm sorry?
He looked normal to you?
He looked pretty good. I had the issue with the DirecTV couldn't talk to the ESPN, and I'm like, so I had to stream it from my computer, which was not easy. I'm on a trip for work, so I'm not at my normal home. So it was tough, but from what I could tell, he looked pretty good. The 49ers defense just looked better. He hit Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson a ton, which was what I expected to see. They didn't use Conklin at all. Mike Williams played like 4 out of the first 22 plays after his ACL last year. Lazard looked pretty good compared to, besides dropping that first ball. That was it. They just didn't get a lot of rhythm because they didn't get the ball a whole lot.
Yeah.
That down. That's real. Yeah.
And compare Rodgers yesterday to Kirk Cousins on Sunday.
I know. It's crazy. He looked 9 day to me.
Horrible.
Kirk did not look good. I didn't see a whole lot of that game. But from what I did see, he struggled with putting ball in spots. And I had mentioned this early in the offseason. And they're like, well, they just paid him a lot of money. But you have to understand that this is Kirk's power leg. This is where he generates force. And whereas Rodgers is his front leg, that's just his plant leg. He's not really generating any force from there. So whereas Rodgers still has the cannon and he can push off through that leg, obviously we saw that Cousins struggle with that. He only hit Drake London, 2-3 times?
Yeah.
I mean, what is this, amateur hour? I mean, come on.
Pitts,
Ray McLeod had more targets. Come on, man. This is unacceptable. And maybe there's a reason why they took Penix so high.
We broke. Yeah. I've been saying, it might go down. It might go down.
He paid Kirk a lot of money to also pay Penix a lot of money.
It might go down as a great call at the end of the day when everybody scrutinized the pick.
Nah, that's true. So, Doc, let me ask you this, Doc. I mean, just looking over the entirety of the weekend, Sunday, obviously Monday, were there any other major or even minor injuries that happened that you want to highlight?
Yeah, there's several injuries. A lot of knee injuries this week. Jordan Love, we saw, could have been a huge injury. That, in my opinion, was a dirty play. Jalen Carter was pulling on his knee. Jalen Carter's huge.
Really?
Literally pulling on his knee, and the other defender was kind of pulling on the other leg or kind of holding him. And you could see it almost looked like a shift, right? Almost. But but that usually means ACL. Thank God it wasn't. It could have also been his kneecap popping out of place. Thankfully, it wasn't that either. It ended up being his MCL, which is that one that runs north to south on the inside of the knee that protects the knee from collapsing. And unfortunately, this is going to take at least 2 up to 6 weeks. It just depends on how aggressive they want to be. They're usually pretty conservative, but yesterday they announced that they are not going to put him on IR. So that means
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, he's not going to miss 4 games. So they said they're willing to. So usually mandatory IR to return is, hey, we're going to miss 4 games. That's what Puka had. So if they said 4 games, that means they would have not been able to return in, I think, in week 6, and their bye is pretty early, so it would have been a little tricky. Now they're saying, okay, maybe I can get him back 2 or 3 weeks after the injury. So, and they already said Malik Willis is going to start, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But thankfully, this was an isolated MCL sprain, which is pretty good considering. This could have been an ACL. This could have been a bunch of bad things. It wasn't. So that was, that was a good news for a playoff, potential Super Bowl potential team. What we will see him struggle for the next couple of weeks. He's not going to play, but when he does get on the field, he may struggle a little bit. But overall, I think Jordan Love got lucky. Josh Allen injured his non-throwing hand, but he said he'll be fine for Thursday night. Again, with this short turnaround, makes it a little tough. We saw Lamar Jackson banged up. They announced this morning that he'll be okay to play, but he's just banged up, even though he has a couple extra days to heal up. And then the rest of the quarterbacks, were relatively healthy. But we did see a couple big injuries. Puka Nacua re-injured his what we call PCL in his knee. This was an injury that they said, hey, it was just a bursa. No, this wasn't a bursa. This was a PCL sprain in the first week of August. The PCL is the ligament that prevents your knee from collapsing backwards. It crisscrosses with the ACL. So when you have a PCL sprain, it's like you sitting on a bar stool and two of the legs of the bar stool are loose. You're like you're not stable. So this is what Lamar had a couple of years ago that he never returned from. So this is the problem with a running, a receiver that's trying to run, is that you're trying to run, cut on a dime, and then rotate. You can't do that if your knee doesn't stop when you want it to stop. So this was a re-injury of the one he initially suffered and missed 3 weeks. So they basically said, hey, we're going to shut him down and put him on IR for a minimum 4 games lost. So that's kind of a big deal, obviously.
Huge deal.
So there's a lot of big names out there, Doc. A lot of big names that are people wanting to know about. Russell Wilson's one. Justin Fields came in. You got Russell Wilson. David Njoku, the tight end.
Njoku.
Ferguson.
Davon Etienne got an ankle injury.
Etienne in Miami.
Mostert's got a chest.
The Rams had 2 old linemen went down.
Yeah, the Rams got beat up, banged up. So
let's talk Russell Wilson real quick. I know you're limited. Yeah. Russell Wilson's a popular name anyway. Justin Fields will probably get the nod again. I thought he looked okay. He struggled underneath center, but I guess Tomlin just continues to figure out how to win. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback.
It's amazing.
I love Justin Fields. I think he gives you 2 options, but I'm still leaning on Russell Wilson's experience and arm talent with this particular team. I just think that Russell's still the answer if they're going to do something, but that's a whole nother discussion. Where are we at with him? Is he going to be the guy or is he out?
So similar to McCaffrey and Burrow last year, these calves they're not, they're frustrating. They re-injure easily. They don't heal well at all in anybody. And the problem is you need it for mobility. You need it to step into your throws. You need it to get out of the way. You don't need to run per se, although he would. But he's a sitting duck if he doesn't have mobility, and that's the problem. So if he tweaked it again the week coming up to preseason, to week 1, then there's a chance they keep him out again because if he strains it, he's going to miss a month, easily. So they're like, hey, I miss a game and maybe I can play in week 3, or I strain it in week 2 again and miss a month. And then you don't have a choice. You have to play Fields. So I think they're trying to be a little smart here. I think they'll probably announce.
You got Justin Fields. I
might as well,
Yeah, I mean, Fields, I knew he was going to run the ball, and he ended up hitting DJ Moore a ton last year. He hit Pickens a ton this year. They don't have really a whole lot, maybe Freiermuth, but I think Jalen Warren probably should have sat that game, but he didn't want to miss because of his hammy, so he didn't do a whole lot. One thing I do want to comment on real quick about Joe Burrow, you could see him kind of flexing his hand. I watched the Patriots game because I'm a Patriots fan. Huge upset. I did not expect that, but I'll take it.
That was good.
We saw Christian Gonzalez hold down Jamar Chase. The data on him on one-on-one was very impressive. Obviously, T. Higgins missed last week with the hammy. He's probably going to miss this week, which is a huge game against the Chiefs. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then they obviously mixed Joe Mixon. In my opinion, they kind of struggled behind running, and the O-line held up strong. But it'll be interesting to see how if Joe wants to play with a glove, not with a glove. His accuracy was pretty much there, but he didn't average much more than 5 yards an attempt, somewhere around there. Patriots defense is good, not that good where Joe should have been able to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with his wrist.
Yeah.
I got a question real quick. Justin Herbert, I know he had the foot thing during camp.
Yep.
How do you think, how did he look to you? Did he look normal?
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. I caught a lot of that game. He looked pretty good. I didn't see any hesitation. This will be something that he's good until he like tweaks it, and then it's going to bother him. But hopefully he doesn't tweak it too much. He doesn't bother it too much, and he's able to play. J.K. Dobbins looked really impressive, which is rare for post Achilles. It'll be, I'll play devil's advocate here for a second and say that was the healthiest that Achilles is going to be all year. So as it starts to become less healthy, less tight, more inflamed, is he going to be able to continue to do that? I don't know. But I'm here to see if it's actually going to happen, because we haven't seen a running back come back and be very good to elite in the first year post Achilles. James Robinson tried, Marlon Mack tried, Cam Akers tried twice. So we haven't seen someone really good immediately. Mikel Leshoure way back when was pretty good, but not anybody in the recent memory. So I'm hoping J.K. Dobbins can break that barrier. Njoku dealing with likely a moderate high ankle. So he might be out a couple weeks to a month. We saw Kadarius Toney's side there. I'm not sure really makes him much of a difference. Deshaun Watson looked awful. Convenient timing for a new lawsuit. And then we saw a couple other, potential big injuries. Jake Ferguson also suffered an MCL sprain, which is what Jordan Love suffered, and what Rome Odunze suffered. I think he got lucky. This could have been a significant injury for Ferguson. I think he'll probably miss this week because of the bone bruise and the MCL. It just is too risky. You can tear the ACL if you come back too quickly and you take a hit to that same part of the knee. So I think they hold him out for a week or two because he's an important part of their team.
What about Odunze?
So Odunze, just an unfortunate injury. He was blocking, and then Velus Jones and one of the Titans ran into him together and caused an MCL sprain. So given how important, talented he is, he'll probably miss a couple weeks, depending on the severity. That will help, obviously, GJ Moore, and we'll see more Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had a crazy target share, but Caleb only threw for 93 yards. Like, there was only two quarterbacks before last night that had over 300 yards passing on Sunday.
17 under 200.
I was like what? I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what. It was awful.
It was a stat they showed on screen. I think it was like the lowest amount of passing yards in the last. It was like top 5 like the last 20 years. It was a stat I saw on the screen.
I was like, I mean, and every tight end was awful. I mean, it was bad. Like every tight end was awful. Likely, obviously, it was the only one that was like really good. But that we had a couple other injuries. I would be curious to see how Miami does it. They didn't really run the ball at all. Like I think they ran for like 80 yards or something like that. But Tua was one of the 300 plus. But
what about? Let me ask you a question that a lot of people want to know. D Hop, first of all, he's recovering, he's still out. He says he wants to come back and play. He got an MCL. D Hopkins, and then last night. And you can answer these too. I know you got to run, but last night Sauce Gardner was seen on the sideline for about 9 plays, and they're saying it wasn't due to injury. And did you see anything, hear anything, know anything why he was out for 9 consecutive plays? Where they caught 2 big balls in those 9 plays, by the way, and then when he was in, they really didn't have anything but 1 catch on any number 1 receiver. So, where do you see anything?
I saw that too. I didn't see the play. That and I didn't see if there was a play that he got tweaked on or something happened, but he's not going to miss just to get scolded. So obviously it had to be something bothering him to the point where even if he was cleared, he just didn't feel comfortable enough to play yet. And obviously him being as elite as he is, it ended up becoming a big deal. I don't know if it changed enough because the Jets couldn't move the ball enough. But hopefully it's nothing significant. Marshawn Lattimore also has another high-end corner, also has a pretty significant hammy, and he's supposed to go up against CeeDee Lamb next week. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Finishing up the Dolphins, 2 of their 3 running backs are injured already, and they're supposed to play on Thursday. Achane has a mild high ankle sprain. already. He missed 6 games last year with multiple different injuries. Mostert has a chest, which could be a rib. It could be a bunch of things. They don't usually comment specifically on what it is, but we saw Jeff Wilson Jr. kind of run okay. It'll be interesting to see if Jalen Wright takes over. So, but I mean, these short games is going to be tough to see. And the other thing I thought was interesting about H.N., he only ran the ball like 8 or 10 times, and he only had like 20-something yards. Like, he didn't have a lot of rushing yards. He actually got in the end zone, but he caught 7 passes for 70-something yards. Like, if they're going to use him as a slot receiver, okay, he's like a Kamara. He's no longer a running back, but which is good, but he needs to stay healthy. And so far, he's already banged up. And a shout out to Cooper Kupp. I had my concerns about his injury risk, at least in game 1, and that boy was on fire. But we'll see. Now they can double team him because they know they don't have to worry about Puka.
I know. Looked a little tired. They got a nice little rookie in there. They got a couple other guys that showed up, and Stafford's so good that he'll get guys involved. So I'm not worried too much. But as long as Cooper doesn't get overused either, as you know, that overusage can kill you too. Any guys on the radar that we expect to come back, like a Nick Chubb or any guys?
Hawkinson will probably be week 7. Nick Chubb's probably going to be week 5 to 10, depending on how his knee's doing. Jonathan Brooks will probably be week 5 to 8, somewhere around there. The Hollywood Brown might be back this week. Just depends on how aggressive they want to be with him, and we'll see how dynamic that offense is with Brown on one side, Worthy on the other side. Kelsey running a little dig or whatever he's running, and then you have Rashee Rice running somewhere in between. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be very difficult to face them because you don't know you can't double team anybody because someone else is going to burn you. And then another shout out to another rookie, Brian Thomas Jr. looked incredible. Up in Jacksonville here. I'm in Jacksonville now. It's just incredible talent. We'll see how all this plays out. But unfortunate number of injuries. And today is the first day of injury reports for the rest of the teams that aren't playing on Thursday. So there'll be new injuries that pop up today that we didn't know about yesterday or the day before. So get ready.
Hopefully we can get you on Friday, hopefully, and catch us up on those if you're available. Yeah, that'd be huge.